Monique, the physio. Today we've got a special event coming up. We're going to be making bush tucker Johnny cakes, and we're going to be streaming from Eudlo, which is on the Sunshine Coast, Gubbi Gubbi country, place of the freshwater eel. Just wanted to give you some scenery from where we're located at the moment. You can see the beautiful mist rising up above the valley there, above the trees.
Okay, now come with me on a secret journey. I have found something that most women have heard of. Some fear, some don't believe it even exists in contemporary times. But I have found the man cave. It's an actual man cave, ladies. Here we go. Are you ready? Look, here it is.
I'll show you how you make bunya nut flour.
Okay, let's do it.
So bunyas are one of those wonderful plants that have been around since the days of the dinosaurs, and large plant-eating dinosaurs would have spread them around, and at one stage they covered the whole of Australia. So even in outback lakes they've found the pollen of the bunya nut. So the bunya tree, it is a large beehive-shaped tree, and it has big cones about this big, and those big cones have about 50 seeds inside them, but they're in a tough little husk. And so this is half a nut, and they go, so there's a couple like this, and I've put the nuts inside this little hollow that I've made in a couple of bits of wood. This is my homemade bunya nut cutter, and with the point facing up, and then this sharp cleaver just slices them directly in half, and then you pop them out. It's pretty easy to do, and then I'll dry them. So
I have a question.
Yes?
How do you harvest bunya nuts?
I wait till they fall,
But you said that they're, what size were they?
oh, the trees can get large, like they grow up to about 40 metres tall. So
Okay, and what
big.
size is the thing that falls off?
Oh, the nut, up to about 20 kilos.
So you don't want to be standing underneath when it's
No,
harvest
most
time.
Of them, no, most of them are only about 10 kilos, but big ones can get much bigger. They get to about that big. So you can imagine a spherical thing that size.
Do you have to climb up the tree, or does it just fall off?
Well,
I mean, here, this could be where the drop bear legend comes from.
No. There were, down in the Condalilla National Park, there are some huge big bunya trees. Like
What? Hang on, I
this,
can't
like
capture all
really
that.
big.
Okay, that's big.
1.6 metres diameter, and they've still got footholds going up this huge big trunk. It's pretty scary. I'd never do it, but obviously with a vine wrapped around the tree and a couple of some brave young Aboriginal guys, they would go right up to the top and pick the young bunya nuts, because the young bunya nuts were also prized.
Do you know if it was a male thing to do, or did the female? Could the females do it?
Everyone was involved during Bunya Festival time. There were invites would go down to as far as Victoria.
Wow.
So yeah, people would come from miles around by invite to share in the bonanza, because there's just so much food that is produced from these that you couldn't possibly eat it all.
Okay, so let's have a look at this. What does it look like, the bunya nut?
So this is the dried bunya nuts. So you can see there's a little bit in the middle. That bit in the middle is actually the germ, or the embryo, and the bit on the outside is the food for the embryo to use to grow. And they're weird things, because when they germinate, a little tube comes out of here and goes down into the ground, but that's not actually the root. All it is a transfer tube. So it goes down into the ground quite deeply, and then it forms a little tuber down in under, and the embryo transfers out of the seed down this little tube into the ground and then starts growing from there.
Wow.
So it's they're a very weird thing, but very successful. And even though there's only a few areas now, there's just one little patch in North Queensland and then a big area around the Blackall Ranges where the Bunya Festivals, which is kind of near this area. There's not many down here in Udlo, a few, but I think they're ones that have been planted. On the whole, they used to grow on the volcanic soil areas and in the valleys around where Baroon Pocket Dam is now.
And what's so special about the bunya nut? I mean, in terms of nutrition and...
Well, they're nutritionally, they're more like a grain than they are a nut. People call them a bunya nut, but they've got almost no oil. So when you cut them and dry them like this, they are high protein. They're like about 20% protein, and they have very starchy. So you can use them when they're fresh to make like a pesto. You can use them just boiled and with a bit of butter or oil. But yeah, they don't have any oil in them naturally.
And
so
what...
They don't go off easily. These will keep for years, in fact.
And what are you planning to do with them today?
We're going to make bunya nut pancakes. So first I'm going to grind them up into a coarse flour, and there'll be two sections. So here we go. I'm just going to get right into it. I just use an old meat grinder, and it gets a bit tight to get backwards, but basically, as you can see, you get into the swing of it after a while.
Okay. You can see why I'm letting him do this. So, was this a gender-based role? I mean, did the men do this, or did the women do this?
If there were
or did everybody do it?
I think the main way that these were processed were roasting or boiling.
Okay.
But there's also records that the Aboriginal people used to put them into a certain type of clay soil.
Yep.
And let them go off. So it's probably a bit like rhizopus, the way tempeh is made. So they actually would give extra vitamins and nutritional value by burying them in the ground and letting the fungus grow on them.
Wow, that's so interesting. So,
if you don't dry them, they go off within a few weeks. They don't really last. So that's why there's an old African saying that the best way to store your food is in the belly of your friends.
Oh.
And I think the Aboriginal people had that same indigenous value that there's so much here we can't possibly eat it all. Let's invite people from as far away as Rockhampton or Victoria.
Yeah, what a great way to maintain good neighbours and good communities. Okay, well this is really interesting. I wonder how many nuts would it take to make a kilo of flour?
We'll actually get close to, I think there's about a kilo of nuts here.
So 1 kilo of nuts?
So probably about...
how many would that be?
One bunya nut probably.
So if the bunya nut...
I mean one whole bunya cone.
The bunya cone you said was about 20 kilos.
Well, that's a lot of pig. And
right.
The nut part of it, you probably, out of one like that, you might get 150 nuts. In the typical one, you might get 50 nuts. Okay.
So it would feed quite a few people.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. So reports were that after the Bunya festivals, people would come down to the coast, fat and sleek, after having feasted on the nuts.
Oh, sounds like happy days. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks, Dean. Thanks for explaining that to us. And later on today, what are you going to be doing between 11 and 12?
Bunya nuts have a really distinctive taste. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put this flour in here, and take it back to the kitchen, because
So
then
look at
I'm
that
going to.
flour.
The flour's got some fine and some coarse.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I can either process it all with a little whizzer that I've got over there in the kitchen, and that'll make it into fine flour. Or what I normally do is just use a sieve and sieve out the coarse particles and put them in my muesli.
Okay.
So, and they make beautiful porridge. Bunyip porridge is delicious.
Well, it's coming into winter. Maybe, yeah, if you can get hold of some bunya nuts, let's try some porridge recipes as well.
I've never seen either bunya nuts or bunya nut flour in any shop ever. But as far as I know, no one else has kind of goes to the bother of cutting them up and drying them. But they dry really quickly. They're dry overnight.
Yeah.
I just use a little electric dryer, and they dry, quite quickly. And then once they're dry, they keep for ages. So as you can see, these ones here are from last season. And yeah.
Oh, what time of year is bunya nut season?
It's actually variable, but the most common time for them to be ripe is in January.
Okay.
But it can be anything from November. It depends on the season,
Okay.
on when the rains come.
So by the time the bunya nuts were processed and dried out, then it would have been a nice winter type food for people to keep up their nourishment in the cold weather.
I think because it was so, yes, it would have been. But it would have been during the summer that people would come for the festival. So,
Oh, okay, yep.
So it was the summertime.
So they didn't store them, they just had big parties.
Yeah, having said that, I have actually seen them ripen right through till this time of year. So
Okay,
it depends on
so it's
the rain.
May.
Yeah.
Mm.
So they're really quite rain dependent as to when they're set and fruit.
Okay, well, this has been really interesting, and thank you so much for letting us into the man cave. We know that this is kind of secret men's business in here.
Okay, so here we are back in the. We've ground the bunya flour using the meat grinder. It's quite coarse, and what we're going to do now is actually just I've got a sieve here to just sieve the flour, and I get the fines out. So the fines just go through into my bowl. That's what we're going to make our pancakes out of. And you can see there's some grit. So that's the gritty bits. And rather than, I could put them back through a food processor to make them into fine material, but I really like them. You just put those grits into your muesli and then have a lovely bunya flavoured muesli. Okay. So now we have our, I've actually mixed in some baking powder so that we're making self-raising bunya flour, and I've got a half a cup of normal self-raising flour in there as well. So there's all up, there's 2 cups of bunya flour. Now I have 2 eggs, just ordinary chook eggs, these ones. We'd like to use our duck eggs, but they're not laying for us yet. And 1 3/4 cups of milk. Okay, so I'm going to pour the eggs in, and a spoonful of Goya honey. Now this is my friend Modu's Goya honey. Goya is a rainforest plant. It's beautiful. It smells a little bit like leatherwood honey. So, and it tastes a little bit like leatherwood honey as well. So quite a strong honey, this one. But it's a good bush tucker honey. So we're putting one of those in. Now I'm going to, there we go. Right, that can go in there. Now I'm just going to blend that up with the blender. Okay, so that's everything we need now apart from the flour. Now I'm also going to add into the flour, just to give it that really nice distinctive bush tucker flavour. This is if only you could smell it, but it smells a bit like roast coffee and chocolate, raw cacao.
And what are they?
It's wattle seed. So this is ground wattle seed, and I'm going to sprinkle that into the flour, and then I'm going to just blend that in a bit with the flour. That's it. Okay, and I like to blend the whole lot. So I'm going to pour this in and mix it up. And make it into a nice running batter. And it needs a little bit of butter. So I'm going to quickly melt some butter.
And is it salted or unsalted, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't really matter. I think this one might be salted. Yes, it is. Okay, so I'm just going to melt that and mix that in, and that's the only oil that the pancakes have. The bunias don't have much oil in them. The nuts, the wattle seed does. The wattle seed's actually high in protein. It's called, treated as a superfood. Not that I'm a big believer in superfoods, but that's what it's called, a superfood. So it's a bush tucker superfood, and I don't even know which species of wattle this is. I bought them. So I had to get them online. They're not in supermarkets much, but I believe in southeast Queensland here, Floribunda, there's a few, most of the Australian wattle seeds are in fact edible. I learnt this morning when I did a little bit of research on what species it might
be. So if we have a wattle tree in our garden,
you could collect
How could we collect the seeds? Or is it just, they must be tiny. Those ones look
not
tiny.
Necessarily. Some of them are, no, these have been ground.
Oh, they've been ground, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you collect them? And when?
When the pods are drying off, there's two different ways that wattle seeds are traditionally used in indigenous cuisine. One is to pick them when they're a little bit not quite, there we go, so that goes in, and that goes right down, and now I'm going to mix our final mix of the batter. Here we go, and I'm going to give it a quick whiz.
And you were saying there's traditional ways of collecting wattle seeds?
Yes, so the wattle seed can be used either as a slight, not quite ripe, so while they're still soft you can boil them and they make it like a pea, and then there we go. You can see that that's bubbling a little bit, which is great. That means our baking powder's doing its trick. So now we're on a low heat, and I'm just going to pour my first pancake. So we don't want it too thick. There we go.
So if you were like me, you'd use a soup ladle or something to do that. Or you could even make little pikelets or something, couldn't you?
You could.
Yeah.
So
this is the bloke way of doing it. You have to have good timing to pour the batter out like that.
No, if it's the right consistency. Now, what they, in some of the recipes I've seen for where you make Anzac biscuits, for example, or whatever with wattle seed, they do suggest that you actually leave it for a while for the wattle seed to actually soak up some
Should
moisture.
you leave it in the fridge? Sometimes the pancake batters, they recommend leave them in the fridge so the flour plumps up. Does that work the same with the bunya flour?
It may do.
Yeah.
It might improve a little with age, but
Yeah.
certainly the wattle seed will.
Okay. So how long would you leave it in the fridge, Dean?
I think it's like, provided it's kept in the fridge, I think you could keep it for about a week. It'd be
Oh,
fine.
if you wanted to. But what's the minimum time you should leave it?
Oh, none, like we've just done.
We could just do it straight away.
We
Don't
can
need
do
the
it
fridge
straight
at
away.
all. Cool.
But what it does mean is that the wattle seed will be a little bit crunchy.
Okay.
But if you want, and which is a really nice texture actually.
Yeah,
So
okay, good.
I like
Okay,
that.
so we're looking here. Looks like all the bubbles have come
So
through.
the bubbles are coming
Hang on,
through.
let's
It's
get the
looking
big
good.
bloke arm out of the way. Yep, there we
And
go.
I think it's almost to the stage where I can flip it. Not quite.
Oh, it's looking quite good. It smells
I might
fantastic,
actually
everybody.
give it a little bit more heat. No,
He's
still
done
not,
this before. He knows how to do
Still
this.
not ready to.
Whoa.
No. I might have to give it a help along. It's stuck in the middle.
Oh no, we don't
There
want
we
to have
go.
our first one stuck. Well, that happens. I mean, you know, normal pancakes, the first one usually is a write-off, isn't it? You just toss it to the dog. But this one, no, this dog's not
No,
getting
no,
this one.
There's no dogs. No dogs being fed from this pancake. Now I'm going to flip it this way.
Oh, there we go. Well, the pan's just getting hot, so
That's
why it looks a
perfect. I
little
think the
uneven.
pan is just the right heat.
Well, it's got actually that's a really nice pattern there we've got. It's
Oh,
very
yes, we've
artistic.
got- There we go. Now you'll notice that with bunya nut pancakes, they tend to brown more quickly. That bunya flour doesn't have any gluten in it, so they tend not to stick, which is why I've put a couple of eggs in. So there's 2 eggs just to help it stick a bit, but also the half a cup of ordinary wheat flour helps a little as well. So that's it. I think our first pancake came out pretty much perfectly.
Congratulations! Now we're going to
Now-
have a.
Now we're going to now for the garnishes. This is the fun
Ooh.
part. So what I've got here is this is some homemade Davidson plum jam.
Oh, let me get a close up.
Davidson plum jam is one of the nicest jams you'll taste. It's Davidson plums. There's 2 different species. There's a southern one, and then there's a North Queensland one. These ones actually are from the North Queensland one, but both make really delicious jam. You just break them open when they're fully ripe. They're still very, very tart. They're one of the sourest fruits you can come across.
But
And-
no, I can vouch they're great with ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Put some on
And-
top of ice cream. It's
and-
delicious.
You put about 2/3 Davidson plum, 1/3 just raw sugar, and then you cook that up, and you've got, or it can be white sugar too, and then you've got a really delicious but still quite tart jam. So
And it's a beautiful colour,
It keeps
isn't it?
for ages, provided you put it in the fridge after you open it. And yeah, we love them. So that's it. We have our.
So we might do a separate session with Davidson plums and
Yes.
talk about how to make jam out of them and when to harvest and even how to grow them.
We're going to spread some Davidson plum over it. So this is a fairly wholemeal Davidson plum. This one, I haven't bothered blending it or anything like that. It's still a little bit chunky. Occasionally you'll find a little seed, but I normally take the seeds out because the seeds themselves are an edible bush food.
You can eat Davidson plum seeds?
Yes.
Ah.
Provided you take the little skin on them is very bitter. But once you take the skin off, it's absolutely delicious.
And he's dived into the fridge for some cream. Whoa,
Here we go.
can you believe it? I hope your mouth's watering as much as mine is. Look at this. Oh my goodness.
Now we're ready to enjoy.
Oh, and the final touch. Now these aren't bush foods,
Oh,
but they're pretty special.
occasionally when they're ripe, I do pick the
Raspberries.
native raspberries, and the native raspberries are really nice too, and even more beautiful looking than the domesticated raspberry.
Okay.
That's
so
it.
are you going to...
Bon appetit, Monique.
Oh, bon appetit. Merci. Thank you, Dean. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with exercise, because I'm usually the one doing the exercises in the kitchen.
Oh, that's
Well,
easy. After you've eaten this, you need to.
So after we've eaten the pancakes, we're going to do more exercises. But while we're actually waiting for the pancakes, this is a great opportunity to do some strength and balance exercise at your bench. So I'm just going to go up now, do a few heel raises. So this is really great for my calf strength. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more. Oh, those bubbles are forming. I better hurry up. Now I'm going to do a few squats. So I'm bending my knees, keeping my body upright. And if I want to make it even more challenging, take my hands off the bench if I can do that. If I have even better balance, I can do this kind of squat. Okay. I'm going to have to turn that pancake in a sec.
Now you're just showing off now.
Okay, I'm going to turn the pancake. Oh, I'm just checking it. Okay, I think this is good to go.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is some balance exercise. So I'm following the line of tile along my floor. I'm going to put my feet in a straight line. I'm going to take my hand just above the bench, or if I'm really confident with my balance, I can just go like this and bend my knees slightly and stay like that for the count of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come back up.
And you didn't
Swap.
even know that you were waiting for a pancake to cook.
No,
did
I'm
you?
going to keep an eye. Okay, swap my feet so the other one's in front. And now I'm going to do that again. Now, if your balance is poor, just hold on to the bench at the same time. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go down, keeping my chest up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How's the pancake going? And I'm going to stand up tall, one hand on the bench, away from the flame, and just take the leg out to the side. And this is a side hip strengthening exercise. And that's the name they give it in the Otago exercise program. But what we're doing is exercising this part of our body. So we're keeping our foot pointing straight forwards. So make sure your toe is not turned out, it's turned straight forwards. And you're just going straight out to the side. So we'll do about 10 of them. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I'm going to go onto the other leg, and this time I'm going to bend this knee slightly. This is the harder way, so you can choose which way you want to do it. I'm going to do it the harder way on this side. I'm going to bend this knee slightly, take this one out, and I'm going to put my hands on my chest, right? So I'm not holding on this for this side, I'm showing you the harder way. If you want to do it evenly, then just do it the same way you did before. So we're going to do our 10. So this is the progressive way, the harder way. Bend the knee, chest up tall, hands on shoulders, legs straight out to the side. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, if you are at risk of falling, you would not do it like that. You would do it the way we did it first, holding onto the bench. So, I think you get the idea of all this now. And we might just say goodbye. We'll say goodbye from the kitchen and wish you well. And we'll see you another time in our kitchen doing some more bush food.
They've passed the taste test. They're absolutely delicious. And you can really taste the wattle seed. Delicious.